Good morning, children. Sai Ram. I again welcome you all to the online class of economics. Children, today we are going to start our next chapter, that is chapter number 7 of our book Macroeconomics, and the name of our chapter is Aggregate Demand, Aggregate Supply and Related Concepts. Children, from this chapter, our third unit of our book Macroeconomics is starting up, which contains a weightage of 12 marks in the board examination, and it covers up chapter number 7, chapter number 8 and chapter number 9. So we are going to learn 3 chapters in this unit, and the topic, children, what we are covering today is the first, concept of aggregate demand, we call it AD in short. Thereafter, components of AD. Third is concept of aggregate supply and consumption functions. Thereafter, saving functions, which reference to the propensity to save and the propensity to consume. And the last, we are going to learn relationship between propensity to save and propensity to consume. So children, let us move to our next to our first point, that is concept of AD. So let us start our first topic, that is aggregate demand. Dear children, in economics, aggregate demand is the total demand for final goods and services in the economy at a given time and price level. Aggregate demand is the gross domestic product of a country when inventory level are static. So children, if we're talking here about the definition of aggregate demand we call in short AD, refers to total value of final goods and services which all the sectors of an economy are planning to buy at a given level of income during a period of an accounting year is known as aggregate demand. In other words, AD is the aggregate expenditure that different sectors of the economy are willing to incur during a given period of time. Or we can say that AD and aggregate expenditure means the same. Now children, one thing is very important to understand here, that aggregate expenditure refers to the planned expenditure, and it is not related with the actual expenditure. We are planning to buy the certain goods and services in an upcoming period of time. So aggregate demand is the total expenditure that all households, firms, government and the rest of the world are planning to incur during a given period of time. Now children, let us learn the components of aggregate demand. So the sum total of all planned expenditure in an economy at a given general price level per period is known as the components of aggregate demand. Or children, the various components of aggregate demand is AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M, where AD is the aggregate demand and C refers here the private household consumption expenditure, in short we call it C. I refers here the investment expenditure, which is denoted by I. Similarly, the government expenditure is denoted with G, and net export is denoted with X minus M, which is exports minus import. Now children, what is private household consumption expenditure, which is denoted with C? Children, it refers to the total expenditure which is incurred by the household on purchase of various goods and services during an accounting year. Generally, consumption expenditure is directly influenced by the level of disposable income. That is, higher the disposable income, more is the consumption expenditure, and vice versa. And what is disposable income, children? Disposable income refers to the income from all sources which is available to the household for spending on consumption and savings. So children, as you all know, at a micro level, when a consumer needs various goods and services for its own survival, similarly in an economy, when we are talking here about the macroeconomics, we are talking here the consumption expenditure or the overall aggregate expenditure of an economy. I mean, in an economy, what are the various needs, the various expenditure to be fulfilled in an accounting year. The first is the consumption expenditure, as I just explained you. Now second is the investment expenditure. So what is investment expenditure, children? It refers to the total expenditure incurred by all private firms on capital goods. It includes addition to the stock of physical capital assets such as machinery, equipments, building, etc., and change in inventory. So children, as in an economy, the first expenditure we have learned, that is consumption expenditure, in which we have learned that that is 130 crores of people who are living in our country. We need the various goods and services for their survival, and we all, as this 1 crore as 130 crores of peoples are demanding various goods and services. They need food, they need water, they need shelter, they need various consumable goods for their own survival. So the first expenditure in an economy should be the consumption expenditure, in which an economy has to be planned to fulfill the aggregate consumption expenditure of 130 crores of people who are living in a country. Now second is the investment expenditure, in which it is related with the total expenditure which is incurred by the private firms on capital goods. As we need some of the capital goods, like we need plant and machinery for running our industries, we need a good inventory to produce something, to produce good things. We need various modern and highly skilled equipments to perform better, to produce the goods betterly. So our industrialists, our producers will need it certain plants and machineries, various equipments, and this equipments have to be produced in an economy. So one more expenditure is to fulfill the investment expenditure of on the capital goods. Now third is, children, government expenditure. What is government expenditure? It refers to the total expenditure which is incurred by the government on consumer goods as well as on capital goods to satisfy the common needs of an economy. It means government incurs consumption expenditure as well as investment expenditure. Now children, if we're talking here about from the government point of view, government government has to satisfy the consumption need also, as well as the capital needs of the people who are living in a country. So consumption need is, I mean, in government expenditure, it has the joint features of private final consumption expenditure also, as well as investment expenditure also. Therefore, children, consumption expenditure is incurred to meet the public needs like law and order, education, health, transport, defense, etc. Whereas investment expenditure involves the construction of highways, roads, power plants, etc. So children, in the government expenditure, we have learned that it related with the total expenditure which is incurred by the government on consumer goods as well as on capital goods to satisfy the common needs of the people. I mean, the government has to plan expenditure to fulfill the consumer needs, also to maintain the law and order for the people's education, health, as well as on their transport, defense, etc. whereas government has to plan the investment expenditure for constructing roads, highways, or the power plants, etc. Now children, the fourth one is net exports. We call it in short X minus M. So children, what is exports? Basically, exports indicates demands for goods produced within the domestic territory of a country by the rest of the world, whereas imports refers to the demands of the normal residents of a country for the goods that have been produced abroad. So the difference between the export and import is termed as net exports. So children, so far we have learned the four important sectors of an aggregate demand, which is represented by C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So children, even the aggregate demand has four sectors, but we will assume that AD is a sum total, or AD is the fraction of only consumption expenditure as well as investment expenditure. Therefore, AD is equal to C plus I. So children, in your syllabus we are going to learn we are going to understand the aggregate demand in two sectors economy. If we are talking here the aggregate demand, it always equals to C plus I plus G plus X minus M in the four sectors economy. But if we are talking here the two sectors economy, aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. Now what is consumption, children? This is spending by the household on goods and services to meet its wants, as I just explained you. The private final consumption expenditure, which is denoted by C, that is food and clothes or TV or service. These are what are the influences of this consumption? It is related with the disposable income. The more consumer has the higher AD. Distribution of income and even distribution causes a greater rise in AD. Availability of credit, that is credit, if credit is cheap, then AD rises, it not AD falls. So it is the consumption expenditure, as I just explained you. Now in short I am explaining you the investment. Spending by the businesses on capital goods, that is factories, is the consumption expenditures of an economy. And what is influences of this investment? If there is a change, it brings a change in income. If the government is spending more on investment, it is then the income of obviously the rises. People demand more, so business invests to cope with demand. Rate of interest, a lower rate will stimulate investment as the cost of borrowings is low. Profit level, if profit are expected to be high, general policy, lower corporation tax, etc. So children, in this investment expenditure of an economy, we are going to understand here that it related with the expenditure by all private firms on capital goods. If more and more capital goods are being produced, then it definitely brings a change in income. And if the income rises, then the people demanded more, so that the business invests the cope with the demand. I mean, if the capital goods are producing more, then it definitely increasing the efficiency of a firm, or efficiency of any industries, efficiency of any producers to produce more. And if once the efficiency increases, then the income of a people also rises and the people demand more. Secondly, the rate of interest, a lower rate will stimulate investment as the cost of borrowings is low. If the rate of interest we are keeping it low, and then at this lower rate, more and more investments have been done, which definitely decreases the cost of borrowings for the firms, for the producers, for any industry. profit level, if the profit are expected to be high, then the more investments can be done. And the government policy, lower corporation tax, etc. I mean, the policy of the government is to lower the corporation tax, because if the corporate tax we are charging less on the firms or on the producers, then more and more producers will be inclined to produce more goods and services. That is why the corporation tax, if the burden of the corporation tax will be less for the corporation sector, then the more and more investment can be carried out. Now next is, children, government spending. The government is spending, which is spending by the government, and the main areas are the society, so the other social security, that is for health, education and defense. Government is spending just for the social welfare of the people, to give a standard education, to give a good availability of health, as well as on defense. As you know that government is spending on purchasing various arms and ammunitions from the foreign countries, and government is also buying Apache fighter planes just to fight or just to enhance their defense equipments. So what are the influences if the government is spending on this area? It is the public opinion, state of the economy and the market failures. These are the various influences of the government spending. Now children, let us learn the next one, that is net export. This is the total export, that is export minus total imports, we call it M. And what are the influences of net export? The first is the domestic income. If income are high, we tend to suck in imports, which lowers AD. Second is, children, foreign income. If income in other countries rises, they will suck in British exports. Exchange rates of the currency is weak against another, then it will encourage exports. So these are the few influences of net exports. Now let us take one schedule to understand the concept of aggregate demand. So children, in this slide you are watching one schedule as well as a curve on the very right hand side, which explain the concept of aggregate demand. So in this schedule, children, I have taken income on the very left side of this table. As income is representing with Y here, and thereafter I have taken consumption, which is representing with C, and thereafter investment, it is representing with I, and finally we are finding AD, which is the sum total of consumption plus investment. So children, I have taken an income which is 0, thereafter 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 and 600, and consumption at 0 level of income I am taking 40, and investment is 20. At 100 rupees of income in an economy, the consumption is 120. At 200 of income, the consumption is 200. At 300 level of income, it is 280. 400, it is 360. You just see the schedule itself. And the investment is 20 at each level of income in an economy. This is an autonomous investment we have taken, which is not increasing as per the level of income in an economy. I mean, if the level of income increases, then the investment expenditure of an economy remains same. Now when we are finding out the aggregate demand, as I just said, it is the sum total of consumption plus investment. So at 0 level of income, the consumption is 40 and investment is 20. So when we are finding out the aggregate demand, it becomes 60 at 0 level of income. Similarly, with the same way, at 100 level of income, it becomes 140. At 200, it becomes 220. At 300, it becomes 300, and at 400 level of income, it becomes 380. So children, you just finding here, as the level of income of an economy increases, the aggregate demand definitely increases, but it increases at an decreasing rate. So when we are going to plot it this aggregate demand on the very x-axis, I have taken the income. You just see on the very right hand side, children. On the x-axis, I have taken the income. On the y-axis, I have plotted aggregate demand, which is the sum total of consumption and investment. So, children, on x-axis, it is an income which is plotting, and on y-axis, as I just said, I have plotted the aggregate demand, which is the sum total of consumption and expenditure. So, children, as you are see this diagram, you are watching, you are came to know that aggregate demand is assumed to be a function of only the consumption expenditure as well as an investment expenditure. Now, second important point, children, there is always a positive consumption even when the income is zero. You are watching here at zero level of income also, our consumption expenditure is 40 and our investment expenditure is 20, which becomes an aggregate demand of 60. So, why, children, there is always a positive consumption even when the income level is zero? The reason is there is always some minimum level of consumption even when the income is zero. It happens because people need certain basic goods and services to sustain themselves even if the income is zero. Now, children, just think yourself as you are a student and you are not earning anything. Thereafter, there are certain consumption expenditure in your own life for your own survival. Like you need food, you need clothes, you need shelter to live with. You need and for your betterment, your parents are definitely spending money, like they are paying the fee, they are paying your school fee, their tuition fee, and your all educational as well as the health expenditure they are doing, and you are still not earning anything. So, this is your consumption expenditure, which is obviously important for your own survival, and it is expenditure which you cannot deny with. So, third, children, the third basic or important points here, children, the slope of consumption curve. So, consumption curve always slopes upward because consumption increases with the increase in income. However, the proportionate increase in consumption is less than that of income. Fourth observation, the fourth important point is, children, slope of autonomous consumption. So, children, at the zero level of income, there is always a consumption expenditure, or you can say that there is always a positive consumption. So, that positive consumption is representing with C bar, and it is known as autonomous consumption. Here, you in the slide you are watching, children, on x-axis there is an income plotted. The consumption curve starts from S on y-axis. S is representing the consumption curve, whereas T is representing the aggregate demand curve, which is a sum total of C plus I. So, in between of this consumption as well as the aggregate demand curve, the difference between these two curves is the value of investment. And as you all know, investment is autonomous, or it is the same at all the level of income. That is why the slope of investment is horizontal straight line parallel to x-axis, which is representing with R. So, under down the value of S and O, I mean, you just see here from the space of S to the down of O from the origin point, this is the autonomous consumption point, which is representing with C bar. So, children, this is your concept of aggregate demand. Now, let us move to the next topic, which is aggregate supply. Now, children, let us move to our next topic, that is aggregate supply. What is aggregate supply, children? Aggregate supply is the total supply of goods and services in an economy. Children, aggregate supply is the total money value of all the final goods and services that all the producers are willing to supply in an economy during a period of an accounting year. So aggregate supply is the same concept as of aggregate demand. In aggregate demand, we are demanding various we are planning to buy various goods and services at a given level of income, whereas aggregate supply, as it is the supply concept and supply is related with the producer. Similarly, aggregate supply is what? It is the total money value of all the final goods and services that all the producers are willing to supply in an economy during a period of one accounting year. I mean, all the producers are producing various goods and services and they are supplying into the economy, they are supplying into the market and fulfilling the various needs, the various demands of an economy. So children, aggregate supply is always equal to the national income, or it is always equal to the income. It is very important to understand, because aggregate supply is, when aggregate supply is expressed in physical terms, it refers to the total output of goods and services in an economy. We know that we also know that the value of output is distributed to the factors of production in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit. As once the goods have been produced and it has been sold into the market, and from that sale price, or we call it value of output, a firm has to pay the various factors of production, I mean in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit, because they are not available free of cost. A firm has to pay their factor payment. So the sum total of this factors income, that is rent, wages, interest and profit, at domestic as well as in national level, is termed as national income. So we can see that aggregate supply and national income, which is denoted with Y, are one and the same thing. So children, one thing is very important to understand here. The major portion of our national income is spent on the consumption of goods and services, and the balance is saved. It means income is either saved or consumed. Children, you just see, one thing you have just see from your own daily life also. Your suppose if there is a person who is earning any amount of salary, then there are two possibilities with this earnings. Either he can spend the entire income on consumption, or he can save the entire amount, or there is again a possibility that any part of his income is spent on consumption, or any remaining part of income he is saved with himself. So aggregate demand, or you can say the income which is representing with Y, it always equal to consumption plus savings. So this concept is understood, children, with this scheduled and table. You just see here with the slide, there is aggregate supply schedule along with aggregate supply curve. On the very left hand side, I have taken a table which representing an income at income which is representing with Y, thereafter the consumption which is representing with C, savings that is S, and aggregate supply, as I just said, is always equal to C plus S, whereas aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. Children, I am again going to repeat here, aggregate demand is equal to C plus I, whereas aggregate demand is equal to C plus I, whereas aggregate supply is equal to C plus S. C is here the consumption, S here is savings. So I have taken the same amount of income as well as the same amount of consumption. So with this two values, you can easily find out savings. Saving is at 0 level of income. If the consumption is 40, then the saving is minus 40, because 0 minus 40 becomes minus 40. At 100 level of income, the consumption is 120, but the value of saving is minus 20, because the consumption is more than the income. Thereafter, at 200 level of income, the consumption is 200 and the saving is 0. So children, at 300 the saving is the consumption is 280 and the saving is 20. And 400 rupees of income, the consumption is 360 and the saving is 40. With the same way, you can find out the rest of the values of saving with the rest level of income in an economy. So when you're finding out the aggregate supply, it is always equal to C plus S. So 0 minus 40 is becomes 0. 100 level of income, the income is equals to C plus S. When you adding consumption plus saving, a consumption is positive whereas saving is in negative at 100 rupees of income. Therefore 120 minus 20, it becomes 100. With the same way, by applying this formula C plus S, you can easily find out the aggregate supply. Now when you find out the aggregate supply of all the level of income in an economy, you can just you can realize one thing, that income and aggregate supply, both the values becomes same. Whatever the value of income is, the same is the value of aggregate supply. So children, the income we are plotting on the x-axis, where the aggregate supply we are plotting on the y. So children, so far we have studied the concept of aggregate demand. We have learned the definition of aggregate demand and the components of aggregate demand. AD is always equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M in the 4 sectors economy, whereas AD is always equal to C plus I in 2 sectors economy. We have learned the all explanation of C plus G plus I plus X minus M, that is net exports. I mean, what is private final consumption expenditure, thereafter investment expenditure, government expenditure and net exports. Thereafter we have learned one scheduled as well as aggregate demand curve. I mean, how we can find out the aggregate demand as well as how we can plot it the aggregate demand curve also. Thereafter we have learned the concept of aggregate supply. I mean, what is aggregate supply and how we can find out the aggregate supply. Thereafter we have learned how we can plot it aggregate supply curve. We have also learned that aggregate supply is always equal to the national income, which is representing with Y. So children, that's all for today. Kindly learn the topics what we have covered up today itself, and in the next video we will learn the consumption functions. I mean, what is propensity to consume. Thereafter we will learn the types of propensity to consume, that is average propensity to consume, thereafter marginal propensity to consume, and the same way we will learn the saving functions, which we call as propensity to save. So children, that's all for today. Thank you so much and take care. Have a nice day. Sai Ram.